Oh, we're in the wrong.
It's time for a little Saturday morning fun time! Your show manager is Martin Acosta Santana and John Aaron Schmidt. And your producer is Martin Acosta Santana. I'm your announcer, the Comic Relief Crusader. And now, your hosts, Tom and Gerry. Gary.
It's not rocket science. Just say yes and we'll move on.
I want to thank Martin for not putting us in the correct studio while I'm trying to eat. I've got one hand on my food and the other hand trying to push the buttons. And I'm like, we're in the wrong fucking studio.
At least your hand was in your food and not.
I told you I was fucking eating. And all you had to do was switch us over to the Tom and Gerry fucking. Oh, Jesus Christ, dude. You had one job.
Well.
You had one fucking job.
And I refuse to do it well.
Man, oh man, Tom and I are here. All of us are kind of eating right now. Well, three of us are eating our breakfast.
That is a nice
hell
shirt.
Yeah. Oh my God, yeah. I've never seen that before, dude. That is cool.
I got a bunch of these like Brady Bunch ripoff shirts one time, and one of them is Eternia Bunch.
That's fucking cool, dude. Where'd you get them from?
It's this Canadian company that I'm not going to promote because I asked them if they wanted to sponsor me, and they're like, "Yeah, we don't do that." And I'm like, "Well, that's too bad because a lot of people ask me where I get your shirts."
Yeah, screw those guys.
I'll just let you guys know in the background.
Yeah, tell us in the private chat.
I have a show and tell too.
Oh God. Oh God. Oh.
Holy.
What is it?
What is that?
Kingdoms Rule.
Dice.
Dice?
Dice set.
It's fancy dice that could kill somebody if you threw them at
Well,
them.
they're metal too, but they got the Kansas City KC logo. They're by a company that's in Lee Summit. They just arrived today. Sorry.
Are they blessed by Taylor Swift?
Probably not. Not if they come from Lee Summit.
Are they blessed by Taylor Swift's AI porn?
Oh, careful. Now she will try to sue you.
Oh, now we got bad blood.
Taylor, we know
Radioactive.
we love you.
It's just
Hello,
karma.
Radioactive. Taylor, you know we love you. So don't sue us.
The funny part is now the White House is worried.
About Taylor
I saw
Swift?
that article this morning.
Yeah.
Where
That's what
they're
I was
very
saying is
concerned.
hilarious about it is all this crap we've went through over the last couple of years with AI stuff. As soon as Taylor Swift bitches, that's when actually stuff changes or somebody does something or legislation comes in place and we're like, well, maybe this AI thing is not such a good idea.
It's a good thing they got Biden that Taylor Swift calendar for Christmas. He's like, I know her.
I wonder if he recognizes the difference between sexes right now.
I just
That's
can't
what
abide by this whole AI thing. You can't sniff its hair.
There you go. So we're going to be showing a little docudrama thing here that Martine found. It's called Steel in Love.
Yes. It's
And it's
created
about
by-
the skeleton of Mighty Joe Young and King Kong, the original metal skeletons. And I know we watched this a long time ago, but I really don't remember much about it. but it should be interesting. I'm going to go ahead and get one thing out of the way. Every single problem I had with the King Kong film from 1933 was resolved by Peter Jackson's film, except for one thing. The only thing wrong with Peter Jackson's film is it's an hour too long. He put too much in it.
Meandering. I agree, it meanders. I think Kong Skull Island's my favorite Kong movie, to be honest. It's fun.
What world did I like fall into this week? I'm like, everybody's like, I want to see the Roadhouse remake. I'm like, what?
No.
And then now people are like, King Kong, I have problems with it. The Peter Jackson one's better. Kong Skull Island, I'm like, King Kong is a seminal film. Like, it's one of the greatest.
It's a seminal film, but it's also
Absolutely.
lacking in certain story elements that
I
are
just feel like I
necessary.
woke up in like some alternate universe this week or something.
Just
I don't
remember,
know what's
Tom,
going
when I
on.
say something, there's a logic behind it. I'm not following anybody else's
I
statement.
do enjoy the Peter Jackson one more than most people, but still, I'm just like, what?
Yeah. I like
The problem is with the
whoa.
The problem with the 1933 film is the fact that there is no connection, cohesiveness between the Fay Ray character and Kong and why Kong is doing what he's doing. And it's an important element. Now, don't get me wrong, I still fucking enjoy it. I love this movie. And we saw, of course, the special edition, which has all the scenes that were censored, put back into the film, which I love. The guy's getting crushed by Kong's feet. That was awesome. The tribal
And
members.
he's really crushing them. Like
Two of
He's mushing him into the ground.
Yeah.
But there are certain elements in there that bothered me that it doesn't explain away, and a lot of people probably don't notice the importance of why he reacts the way he does to the train and to the planes, because they're just more creatures he has to fight for the thing he wants and loves or cares about.
Yeah,
But
the
Fay
train
Ray is
creepy.
just a screaming girl all the way through the film.
And she
Whereas-
can't act to save her life.
Yeah, she's not very good in that film. I mean, none of the cast are really good in the film. What makes the film great is the film itself. And also they leave a lot of things on. I don't know if they put it on the cutting room floor, more explanation and narrative behind Denham's behavior in the film. They throw things at you really quickly that, oh, he's that natural filmmaker guy. But we don't get that till 3/4 of the way through the film. When the lady is complaining at the
I don't know. I'd argue Robert Armstrong's probably the best actor in the film.
He is the best actor in the film.
I mean, Fay Ray's okay. I mean, and again, at the time this movie came out, how she reacted to things, how people reacted to things, that was very of the time. And I mean, I gathered a lot of the things that Peter Jackson over-explained in his Kong. Right,
Mm-hmm.
like so that's kind of where I was like, okay, yeah, we get it. You're being a bit too heavy-handed with this, but at the same time, I enjoy the extended cut for what it is too. Now you're making me think we should do all of the three main King Kong movies, basically. The 33, 76, and 2006. But yeah,
because despite being a debacle of a film, there are certain elements in the 76 film that I really like.
Oh,
like
the 76 one is the one I grew up with. See, I didn't see this movie until
Same here.
Turner got his hands on it.
Yeah.
And I was like, what, 9, 10, 11 when they finally he finally got his hand, because before that it was very hard to find. Like it was released in the 50s, and I think again in what was it, the late 60s or early 70s. But like you guys were saying, at that time they had already edited out Kong eating the natives and smushing the people, and the Fay Ray scene, quite a bit of that, and
as well as
other bits.
Some of the murders that he commits outside the theater.
Yeah, and some stuff. Yeah. So and a few things that they just trimmed here and there. And that was the first time they had finally. I think they had all. I'm pretty sure they had all those scenes in the movie when I saw it on television. But then for years though, it's been available now. But for years before that, you just couldn't find it. Right. I just didn't get a chance to see it until then, and that was the first time I think it was released on video as well. It was like 88 or 89.
I never saw the original until the restoration. I had never seen the crushing of the tribal people, and I was 12 when Kong 76 came out, and I love that movie. I really did. I fell for the hype that all the Kong scenes were huge model. And then we found out later that Carlo Rambaldi's work was only seen that in the stadium scene. And there's a great line in that one, by the way, that I love. They have it in the original Kong, but they altered it slightly for the 76 Kong, which is, don't worry, that's New York steel. And instead of just those chains are steel in the original film. And in the 76 film, they changed it to New York steel, which did not instill any confidence.
Yeah.
Not,
Kong,
not exactly like an endorsement like it is for pizza.
Yeah.
Kong came out on Laserdisc in '84. It was the first. Also, it was released by the Criterion Collection. It was also the first home video release that had audio commentary.
And I think it was the Criterion copy that I saw in the 80s, where I finally saw the crushing of the tribal members.
Yeah, and I think that's when
fighting.
Turner got his hands on it, but it would be a couple of years before they actually showed it on television, and it got released, I think, on VHS. But yeah, I do remember Criterion had that, and Citizen Kane, I think, were the first two Criterion Collection discs released.
That's right.
Now that you mention it, yeah.
This was one twice a year where I was growing up. It was on every Thanksgiving and every Easter, and it was like the highlight of the day. It'd have like a big meal, and everyone would watch King Kong, and it was a blast. And I do like the original's everything you said. It's a seminal, really amazing movie. I think the most enjoyable one for me to watch is just Skull Island. I think it's fun, but this movie's great, and it's everything.
I'm just giving you guys shit.
Oh my God!
You got me pretty good there.
Tim's talk. They just need to release the Snyder Cut version.
Will come in slow-mo.
Peter Jackson doesn't waste a lot of time the way Snyder does in his longer cut. I still think there's value to the extra scene.
No, I find the most useful part of Peter Jackson's film is in the characterization between Andero and Kong. That was all that was missing.
Go back to the Spider's Pits one. I'm going to comment on that when you're done.
I kind of hated the tortured artist's part with Adrian Brody. If that had been 1 minute longer, I might have ran out of the room.
He's probably one of the worst parts. I mean, I like him as an actor, but his character is horrible. It's like, why is he there? There would be no reason for
character.
The Adrian Brody character.
Oh yeah, I didn't like his character. I mean, he's a good actor.
In the original film, it makes sense why Driscoll's there. It makes sense why Robert Armstrong's there. You know,
he's the captain or the commander on the ship, the deck officer.
Yeah, well, and the whole thing is it's. I mean, we got to kind of go back to the origins of this story, because this movie has just a strange origin. But what I love about it is it's one of the first times we got pure cinema. And what I mean by that, it's not based on a book. It's not based on a previous story. It's an original monster. It's something that the audience had never seen before. Sure, stop motion had kind of been in its infancy, but like what Willis O'Brien brought to this movie and made Kong, I mean, he made him a fully realized character at a time where nobody had ever done that before.
It was also the first ever full-scale animatronic.
So the movie itself is loosely based on Ernest P. Schoedsack and Marion C. Cooper themselves, and Ruth Rose, right?
Oh, with their nature filming and stuff, right?
The trio of them, and that's kind of what it is. They are those guys, right? Like that's them telling what they used to do.
In the film, the characters are based on them, yeah.
Yeah, and it kind of started initially as this idea of it would just be a regular ape that steals the woman and all this stuff, because it was actually loosely based on a true story that had happened to some explorers, and when they stumbled upon like some gorillas or something like that in the forest, or in the jungle. I mean, sorry, excuse me. And this woman had gotten kidnapped and practically, graped by this huge ape.
God.
And yeah, like it was this whole story that had gotten out there, and it really perked up Cooper. And he's like, I got to tell this story. And he also had been reading about the Komodo dragons, and I think they even went to see him, and he got really jazzed up because his idea was to actually take a Komodo dragon and pit it against a gorilla, like an actual gorilla. Come on, like that's what he was gonna do. He's like, and just go like fight. And film it. Like he was Denham, right? Like he was this guy. And there's so many stories about these guys when they would film, especially their earlier films. It's kind of like a reflection of what they used to do. They'd go out in like the Sahara and all these other places, and they'd film these tribes and animals, and they'd build a narrative around what was happening in reality. And these guys would literally just sit there, and the joke would always go is like they would just walk up to a tiger and tell it to smile, right? Like that's how gutsy these guys were. I mean, there's this shot in this movie called, I think it's either Grass or I can't remember the other one they did. A couple of them they did before King Kong, but there's literally this. I can't remember if it's a cougar or a tiger that's leaping up at the camera. Like that camera almost got, I think it was Shodzak at the time. He's like inches away from it, but he just stood there and just filmed the damn thing. So like, I mean, these guys really were doing this stuff out in the real world. And so they had this idea. And then at the same time you had Willis O'Brien, who was working on a project called Creation. And Creation was kind of like the Lost World. And it was about this island that just pops up out of nowhere during a storm. And these people that are on this cruise get trapped on this island, and they get chased down by all these dinosaurs and stuff like that. But Cooper saw the story, the treatment that he had. I mean, they had already sunk like $100,000 into Creation. You got to understand, at this time, that's like over $1 million, right? Like they had sunk a shit ton of money into this movie already, and the studio's just kind of like, it's just not working. And Cooper's like, yeah, because it's got no story. It's like there's no real story to it. You've got no protagonist, you've got no antagonist. And he goes, what I got here, though, is I can use this stuff that O'Brien's doing and mix it with this idea I have over here. And that was the birth of King Kong. And for a while, they weren't even totally sure if it was going to be a big ape or a small ape. It finally became a big ape. But another thing that happened is the Lost Spider. I just want to jump to the Lost Spider Pit sequence, because in more recent years, even though Peter Jackson and several other people are adamant that thing existed, there's people now saying that it never even got shot.
Well, to my knowledge, when I read stuff, it didn't get shot.
Yeah, because see, the thing is that some historians went and dug a little deeper, and sure, there was some pictures and other images of things, but there was other pictures and images of things that never got shot, because as King Kong was going along, it was the most expensive production, I believe, that RKO had ever put together at that time. And they were telling Cooper, you got to cut some of this shit out because it's never going to make it into the movie because we can't afford it. So the Spider Pit sequence got cut out. There was one other action fight sequence with Kong that got cut out. And then there was a sequence where Kong was supposed to leap from building to building to building to get to the Empire State Building. And they cut that whole sequence. And in fact, they even have the shot leading up to that sequence. And that's where Denham goes, shine the light on him, boys, shine the light on him. And he points up high. That's where they're supposed to cut to that scene of Kong jumping from building to building and building. And they cut that whole sequence because it was going to cost too much to make. So there's a lot of historians who believe that the Spider Pit sequence never even got filmed, because if you go to the actual shooting script, all those sequences I just mentioned were X'd out of the script along with the Spider Pit sequence. So anyway, that's a long thing. I'm real sorry about that, but yeah.
No, I'm in the same camp because I don't think it was ever shot.
I'm not mad about that.
But there's pictures that exist of it, because they did build a lot of the miniatures and sets and stuff for the stuff, and they did some tests for some of these things. But
I looked it up, and they actually did shoot that with the spiders and the reptile printer and tentacle treater and all that stuff. But it was deemed too gruesome by RKO, even by pre-code standards. That's the scene.
See, and the argument is
I've seen images that show that they did a test of it.
See,
there's no physical proof of
footage is lost forever, with the exception of few stills and pre-production drawings.
And here's the thing is, see, and that's the argument here, is that some are saying that RKO cut it before it even made its way to being filmed because of that reason, and they also told Cooper, like, you're not going to get all this shit in the movie. It's already costing too much money. Cut some of this shit out. And that's where they're saying historians have gone back to the original script, and that sequence, along with the other sequences that never got finished, were all X'd out. So a lot of people now believe that it never even made its way to being filmed. And the only reason those pictures got out is because those were the test screening. Mm-hmm. And then it was what fed into the legend of it was there was a monster magazine that wrote all about it. And they went under the assumption that it got filmed as well, because they had uncovered some of those pictures. And then also a bunch of those models. Yeah, I think it was Famous Monsters. And then a bunch of those models ended up getting used later on in other O'Brien productions, like the spider, for instance.
Because
and
it
a
was
few other
something
things.
that Forey, because a lot of people, unless you're an original nerd, this name doesn't mean anything to you, is Forrest J. Ackerman, Forey. And he was one of the guys that was all about the collecting of this stuff. And he was one of the first ones to tell us that there is no footage. And RKO wouldn't have lost that. So,
but if there was test footage, it's very likely that it could have gotten tossed. They said
test footage is different than actual footage shot for the film.
Because there's supposedly test footage of Kong leaping from building to building that never got used too. So yeah.
So,
but we have a super sticker from
Darius. Munchausen is here. Super sticker. I don't know what it is. It's not showing us today.
It's a box of popcorn.
Hey, excellent. Eat your damn popcorn, Darius. Thank you for the $1.49 chat.
And we better start the movie soon, otherwise I'll be here all day because I know more about this movie than probably any other movie.
Before we do, I'm gonna show the posters. I want to show the posters. But go ahead, do the video.
Let me show
real quick. Can I
first?
Hold on. You got to get to this video.
Sorry,
get it out of the way. Do the video, Mark.
Fuck you too.
Yes, the thing is a kaiju. Okay, what were you gonna say, Teague?
I want to thank Susan Eckstein for the generous $10 Canadian super chat and for buying memberships on my channel. Thank you very much. She bought 5 memberships and gave me 10 Canadian dollars. I want to thank you very, very much. It's very nice of you, and it's very much appreciated. And welcome aboard to my new members. So thanks for giving me a moment to say that. Thank you very much. Very much appreciated, Susan.
So here's some cool art.
Oh, beautiful. I like the first one better.
I love that poster. That's pretty cool. Come on, I'm excited to see both. Both of these posters have me excited.
That's probably the most iconic one right there.
Yeah.
The last one I'm going to show is the one that I remember most. But
I've
always loved this one. This is one of my favorites.
Well, actually, I wonder. Cool. I think the one before the one on the tower. I think that's actually that might have been a re-release poster. Actually,
this one.
No, that's the original. I think the one before that was
this one.
I think that's a re-release. I think.
Well, actually, let's see, which one is it?
Maybe
they're all great.
They're all amazing, though. Yeah,
this one I love
see
a lot.
This movie, you know.
And this was the one I've always liked, right here.
Yeah, that's a classic.
That appearance coming through the gate.
Imagine being in a movie palace, walking out of like some Gone with the Wind. Is that the same year? And you're like, man, in 2 weeks, King Kong. I can't wait.
Or was it 38? Was Gone with the Wind?
Yeah, it was later.
Right, so I can't think.
Wizard of Oz and Gone with the Wind. I think we're 38. I'm not sure, but I think so.
Yeah. 39. I think.
The point's that, so you know what I mean? Just imagine walking out of some beautiful movie palace and you see the poster for that. I would be so excited to bring my dime back the next week to go see King Kong. I think money well spent.
And there are some historians who say that this was the highest grossing movie for a while until Gone with the Wind.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they did create creatures for the pit.
Oh yeah. Well, O'Brien made a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
He got his start actually under Edison.
Well, a lot of that stuff was left over from creation. That was my whole point of telling that story. Yeah.
So I will tell you right now some movies that came out in 1933. The Invisible Man from Universal. Dr. Mabuse came out in 33. Let's see. I'm looking for big names, not just movies in general.
Wow. So you had The Invisible Man and this in the same year?
Yeah.
That is 2 huge special effects films.
Yeah.
We also got the Boris Karloff film The Ghoul. That came out in 33. Sagebrush Trail, one of Wayne's early starring roles. Let's see. 33, it has a few movies, but most of these look like crap. Anything with Laurel and Hardy. Oh my god.
Oh, King Kong got re-released a lot of times, RJ.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, any chance to re-release it.
And that's why it was so difficult to find those deleted scenes, because they cut them out of the negative.
Yeah. I seem to remember they released King Kong before they had King Kong 76. I want to say like 74, 75.
Duck Soup.
Very possible.
Duck Soup is another great film that came out in 1933.
Marx Brothers. Excellent.
Yep. And that's pretty much it. The rest are just Oliver Twist, the original talkie version. Also in 1933, they released the sequel to King Kong.
They did. They quickly rushed a sequel into production.
Yep.
Son of Kong.
Yep.
Which we can probably talk about as well.
Not nearly as good, obviously.
Oh, no, and it's barely a movie. It's like an hour and some minutes long.
Yeah.
And Son of Kong don't even show up till like almost an hour in the movie. The story isn't horrible. It picks up right after, like 3 months, I think, after the first film, and Denham is still the main character, and they have what's his face also as the captain still back, and it's them escaping New York because Denham's being bombarded with lawsuits, and
which is actually a really good premise.
Yeah,
in the story,
that works for me.
Yeah, the story isn't bad. It's just that it takes forever to get back to the island, and once they get back to the island, it's literally the climax, and you're waiting the whole film to see the Son of Kong, and it's like 40 some minutes or more into the movie before he finally shows up, and they don't really he doesn't get a lot to do, and it's really the ending for Son of Kong too. But the other stuff they do with him, I mean, even the animation that Willis did in comparison to the first Kong just a few months later, I mean, it's so much better looking and smoother, and the action sequences are actually probably better. The fight sequence, I mean, than the original Kong sequence with the bear and stuff like that. But
yeah,
it's just so short because there's not much to it. It's just really kind of quickly rushed through, and you get the Triceratops too that was left over from Creation in that. I think it was that one popped up in, isn't it?
Yeah, the Triceratops. They killed the thing I make fun of with this movie is like, it's moving, kill it.
Yeah.
Well, both
you got a Brontosaurus in the water, or Brachiosaurus, and they've got a Stegosaurus. Both are plant eaters, and they kill both of them.
The dinosaurs actually were first seen in 1925's The Lost World.
Yep, he did. I think some of them are left over from that too, maybe.
Yep.
But a lot of them were for Creation he had created, because like I said, they had spent so much money on Creation. There was even sequences that were shot, and they show it in they got a bunch of them if you get the DVD or Blu-ray of King Kong, the special edition one.
Yeah.
On DVD anyway, it has to be the 2-disc. But the Blu-ray has it on it regardless. They actually construct what was left of Creation as far as footage, what little story was written, storyboards, just so you can kind of get an idea of what the story was. Because a lot of the sequences and stuff that was in Creation was reused for Kong, like the log sequence, for instance, was straight out of Creation.
Yep.
Yep.
I was just glad in Kong Skull Island they didn't make Kong all obsessed with Brie Larson.
Right.
Yeah. Even he finds her butt flat.
He was a little disdainful of her. He has higher.
He saves her,
acuity.
but he's just kind of like, yeah, go.
He's got the visual acuity to see through her shoes. It's like, oh, those feet.
And by the way, Martin, I'm going to share with you the link.
It's like, I like weird feet, but
for Creation. I don't know if you heard me. I was talking. Martin.
No, I didn't hear you.
I'm sending you the test footage from Creation in the chat, private chat.
Okay, up.
There it is.
Yeah, Willis O'Brien got screwed over so hardcore.
Oh yeah.
In the history of Hollywood. Like, I mean, if there's one of the saddest stories of somebody who just kept getting screwed over left and right. Because Creation, his big baby got killed for Kong. And then he had the idea to do Godzilla versus Kong, and it got stolen from him by this other guy, and he never even got to make it. Like, and he died of a heart attack right after it came out, and his wife says that it was from the stress of that whole thing.
Not surprised.
Well, he did happen to mentor the greatest stop motion effect artist of all time.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So Ray Harryhausen.
Who would go on to do Mighty Joe Young.
Joe Young. Yep.
We worked with him on that, yep.
Do you want me to show creation at this moment?
I think when we're done with this,
Okay.
we'll show both those videos. And this is a scene that is, I think, heavily over shot with Jackson's version. It just goes way too deep into it, and it wasn't necessary.
Pricing.
Well, and they even went out of it. Kind of the whole thing with the Jackson version too is they make her an actress or whatever.
Yeah,
or like a performer, I should say.
A performer, because she does the little dance thing later to save her life.
Right. And that's the whole thing. So she's already kind of part of show business. To where this version of Anne, she's just,
a starving girl.
Yeah, literally. Like,
I was watching this movie last night with my daughters, and in the scene in which is convincing her to go with him, I said, yeah, and a week later she appears in Eastern Europe.
Yeah, well, this is sort of like get in the van. It's safe.
Yes.
What would have been hilarious had they, instead of him saying no funny business, it should have been no monkey business, because then it would have played in later.
Oh yeah.
And then she could have had the quip back. I thought you said no monkey business.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and like probably the worst actor in the whole movie. Unfortunately,
it's just terrible. Just terrible.
Bruce Cabot.
Bruce Cabot and Fay Wray are just not very good in this film, and it's so sad that their performances are so weak.
It's not just
but the film carries them. The movie carries them.
Her character is so empty. There's no character development whatsoever. She's just there to be the damsel in distress and scream. It annoys
kind of, yeah. You know what's funny is in the original version of the story, her character didn't come in this way. Ironically, she came into the story almost exactly the same way as Diane Lane does, or what's her name? Not Diane Lane.
Jessica Lange.
76
Jessica
film.
Lange in the 76 film. Yeah.
She was from another
boat. On a boat. She was on a pirate boat and she escaped. Yeah.
Wow.
No, she wasn't in a pirate boat. She was in a movie
Jessica,
producers. It was
a Jessica Lange one. I think Tom's referring to.
Yeah, no. I'm talking about the original story. Yeah.
Martin is saying something. Hold on, guys. Go ahead, Martin.
She was in a movie producers yacht. They were having a party, and nobody knows why the yacht exploded and sunk.
Freebase.
They were watching Deep Throat. No, I know that's the remake, but I'm talking about in the original script. I think she was like captured by pirates or something like that. And then
you're talking about the original script.
Yeah. And so she washes up on a boat. And I said the irony of it is it's exactly almost the same thing that happened to the Jessica Lange character in the Kong 76 movie. Is she just washes up on a boat?
Yep.
Or on a raft or whatever. Yeah.
That path at least placed her in show business. I like that about the 76 movie. It would have been a better origin than the first one too.
Well, you got to remember, this was 1933. So having a woman be anything but a damsel in distress was extremely excruciatingly rare. It wasn't until after World War II did you start seeing the strong female leads.
Well, her better acting was in The Most Dangerous Game, which they were shooting at the exact same time as this.
Yeah.
For those who don't know. Marion C. Cooper was directing this one, and Shodzak was directing the other. They'd shoot The Dangerous Game at night on the same jungle sets with almost the same exact cast, and then during the day, it was the Kong. And Marion C. Cooper used to joke that he had Fay Wray working 24 hours a day.
This is such a clean cut, man. I got to tell you, this re-release with the HD cleanup is just beautiful.
Well, and it's a mix between the negative, an answer, a fine print, a fine grain dupe, and then the scenes that were See, now the version you might have saw, now this reminds me actually, because they did do the unedited cut prior to the complete remaster, but they had to pull the deleted scenes from a 16 millimeter print
Yeah.
from Asia, I think it was.
Yeah, and it was heavily scored.
Yeah, it was
as-
horribly looking.
Yeah.
And so what
I can't
happened
remember.
was
I just know
somewhere,
it was the Criterion cut that I saw.
yeah, so somewhere between that version and the version we have now, somebody found a 35 millimeter, a dupe of the negative. I think it was in the UK or something like that. So that's the version we have now. So all the deleted scenes are taken from that version.
What's funny is so often with these films, old closed down theaters kept prints of some of the films, and so many films have been recovered that way. And I'm wondering if that was how that was recovered. Was it a negative or was it a print?
Well, you got to remember back then, film was made with silver nitrate.
Right.
Yeah, very
Which-
dangerous.
Yeah, which unless
That's how we lost so many films when that big
Yeah.
Hollywood fire.
Yep.
And we lost the majority of silent films.
Well, and actually, I think that one wasn't, I think it was Japan is where they found that other print that I was talking about before, the 16 millimeter one.
Ah,
Because I think they were saying that that's, if there was ever going to be a print that had the spider sequence in it, it would have been that one, because they think that was one of the first prints that was sent out. Because what they would do is when they would print them out, the first ones would go out to like the other, because they would put them, you know, ship them out because it'd take forever to get there so that other countries could do their prints. So a lot of the earlier prints would go out on the boats. So they're like, that would be one of the earlier ones sent out. And if it would have been cut, it would have been cut after that probably. So that's another reason why they think the spider sequence was never ever filmed, because that was one of the full versions of the film at that point. It had from beginning to end, it was a straight direct, you know.
the 16 millimeter was found in Philadelphia.
Or was it
Philly?
Philadelphia? Well, then
Yeah.
the 35 might have been found in Japan. I think one of them was found in Japan.
35 was in the UK.
Was it in the UK?
Yep, in the 1980s.
holy
I swear,
shit.
What one am I thinking of that was found in the Japan then? There was one that was found in Japan. Maybe I'm thinking of a completely different movie.
Yeah, in the 70s there was a.
I was right the first time.
The 70s, Janus Films had one that they showed at art houses. But that's where the scratched scenes came from, because that was just so heavily, it's got so many scratches from being projected so much,
Right.
run through the projectors, that that's the copy that we had for the longest time until they found that print in the UK.
Well, a lot of these older films, the negatives are lost anyway because they just deteriorate.
Oh yeah.
Or they get used so much or cut up. And so I don't even know how much of the original negative of Kong actually exists, because they don't even have I don't think they even have the negative for Dracula anymore. So I think the version that's on Blu-ray now is from a fine grain.
Somebody asked who did the music, by the way. It was Max Steiner who did the
Oh, and
music.
it's an amazing fucking score. Oh my
Yeah,
God.
because it's one of the few films from that period that has
Actually had a score. Yeah.
It had a score, and they do the thing at the beginning. I forget what it's called when they
Overture.
Overture. They do an overture at the beginning, and it's really
Well, this
wonderful.
was also a huge film for the sound mix. Maybe, yeah, it was Metropolis. Thank you, Darius. That's probably what I was mixing it up with. Because they did find, that's the one they found the fuller version in Japan. But anyway, this was a huge leap forward for sound mixing, because at this point they didn't have multi-track recording, right? So they had the score, they had the audio track for the movie that you had with the voice actors. Then you also had all the sound effects and like, you know, Kong sound effects and the other creature sound effects you had to add in there. So they
And
had
Kong
to mix
was a
all this.
lion, by the way.
Well, it was a mix. Actually, it was a reversed, I think, a reversed jaguar and a lion over top of each other or something like that, or a tiger or something like that. But so basically they had to live mix all this stuff like an orchestra, right? Like,
Right.
so to get it all, because at that point you didn't have the ability to do like multi-track recording. So once you did a recording, the degradation would be so bad that the release print wouldn't have been able to be heard if they hadn't just done it all like in a live session kind of thing. So you had one guy handling the music, one guy handling the sound effects, one guy handling the sound mix on the audio from the voice act of the actors, and all, it was all just kind of a weird mix. And it's really amazing how they pulled it off, because nobody had really done anything that extensive at that time. And yeah, the score is amazing. We have the original version of it. I don't think exists, but there is a great
I
re-recording.
love that
of it
matte
I
painting,
have.
by the way, right there. Look at that. That was a beautiful painting. By the way, one person's name we've left out that I think is important to mention is David O. Selznick.
Oh yeah,
he
yeah.
was
Selznick,
executive producer on this, and he was a powerhouse in Hollywood. And he had a rule that, you know, he would put out all these films with the goal of making at least one great film that year, and he didn't care if it made money.
Tom,
And
I think
that's how he got Gone with the Wind.
Tom, I think this question is right for you.
Radioactive for the panel. Any chance we'll see a digital 4K, etc. remaster of the original negative?
Yeah, he's the 4K guy here.
I honestly don't know if the negative exists. I've been trying to research this for a while, because the version we have now, as I said, is cobbled together between a 35 millimeter print that we found in the UK and I think parts of the negative that still existed.
Well, with
now, so that means they
technology the way
could
it
do
is,
they could do a 4K remaster.
That's what I'm saying is, could they
does
upgrade
need
the
it.
film?
It does need it. I don't know what kind of shape everything was left in after that last scan and how high a resolution they did it in the last scan. But that thing, that scan now is already almost 20 years old.
Well, they could try upscaling with AI.
That's what I'm
saying. You don't necessarily need to. I mean, the Blu-ray looks okay. To me, it just has a lot of digital artifacting and stuff like that. That's just indicative of the time that it was scanned and put on disc. Like now, I would love to see a nice, because like when they redid, they scanned Wizard of Oz, and a couple of the other more bigger important films like Star Wars, Wizard of Oz, and I believe Gone with the Wind also got this treatment. They actually scanned them in like 6 and 8K, so they scanned them in excessively high bit rates just in case they need them at a higher bit rate in the future. Because guess what? They ain't gonna be around much longer. They're falling apart. And sometimes when they do these when you do a wet gate scan is what they do for these. And what it is, it sends the film through the same solution, a liquefied solution of what the film is made out of. And it
saline solution.
And it fills in the cracks and all that kind of stuff. They can only do that like a couple times before the film's done. Right. And it means you'll never be able to use it again. And they've been doing this with the negatives for years. And some of the old techniques that they used to use to remaster these films would do more damage sometimes than actually help preserve them. So they're at a point right now with some of these movies that they're going to be lost forever if they don't do something. So yes, Kong is in desperate need of some sort of 4K restoration. I wouldn't be surprised if they already have tried to do that. Maybe it's such a high undertaking that they hadn't gotten it fulfilled yet, because I would think last year would have been the time to release it, because it would have been the anniversary, the 90th anniversary of the film.
Yeah.
I mean, we're 10 years away from the 100th anniversary. So that could also be that Warner's is just like, you know, we're that close to it becoming public domain. They're not going to spend any more money on it either.
Yeah, that's true.
Radioactive.
I mean, to them, this might be the
question.
good enough for them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's the only way
Thank
they
you
can
so much
retain
for the
some
chat.
right.
Thank you very much.
Because even Dracula doesn't look that great in 4K. I mean, it looks okay, but again, like I said, unless they have the negative, it's real tough to make a good 4K out of. But I always am with the idea of scan it as in higher resolution as you can now before it's gone.
Yep.
Thank you, Tom.
And most people are content with DVD quality, so like it's not like most people care, but for future generations, it'd be nice to be able to preserve these things as best quality as possible.
Well, we do have a Blu-ray copy of Kong, which is nice. And
it's all right. It could be better, like I was saying, but yeah.
Because I do believe that this is where this came from.
We just got Citizen Kane in 4K like 2 years ago or last year, I think it was. So I would imagine that this is on Warner Brothers.
So it's King Kong second. I know it was the first one that had the audio commentary, though.
Yeah. I couldn't remember which one was which, but I knew. Citizen Kane was number one. That I knew. But as far as the commentary, I couldn't remember. Are you sure? Because was it the first release of Citizen Kane that had the Roger Ebert commentary, or was that a later one?
That would had to have been a later one, because King Kong was the first that had the audio commentary on it.
By the way, the head of this tribe is Noble Johnson. He was one of the early successful.
Oh,
black
he's
actors
also in the
Hollywood.
sequel as well. I forgot about
Yeah.
that. Yeah, he's the other actor that
Yeah.
makes.
He had
it
a
in
very
that.
successful career, Noble Johnson.
He says, "You let Kong free and killed all our people." That's what he says in the second one.
Well, he's not wrong.
What's the word for friend? Bala. 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 Sorry, I love this.
Bala is bullet in Spanish. So
He wants to trade 6 of his women for Anne. Sounds like a fair trade to me.
yeah, but
I
I
was gonna
imagine
say
the
that-
6 women weren't too keen about it. Only 6?
I think Denham would have been down with that, though. I think Tom had that right on. He's like, all right, well, you're talking my language, Chief.
Well, we got a lot of lonely men on the boat.
You're right. Some tribal
Make it an
women.
even dozen.
You think this monkey digs her? You should see how much the tribesmen on the beach like her.
Say, I
Let's
think
not-
I love you.
Let's not go turn.
Yeah, he delivers it so quickly.
It is some of the worst dialogue delivery in history. Mr. Driscoll, on your deck? Yes, sir. And this is an actor that I guess RKO really tried making happen for a while. He was like the Jai Courtney of that time for some reason. I don't know why.
No,
but they
it's
were-
a good comparison.
yeah, like they were really trying so hard to make this Bruce Corbett guy this huge actor. And like he's not a good actor. He sucks.
I love how they're following the headgear rules. Like on land, he's got like his hat, you know, on the boat, he's got his little yachtsman cap. And I think he's going to get like an appropriate island headgear too.
It's funny you asked that, Jesse. That's kind of the reason I've been suggesting we go through some of these monster movies.
Yeah, Tom has these great ideas of doing the original films or prequels before a movie comes out, which I like that idea.
Yeah, let me know when you're doing Godzilla.
Godzilla.
Oh no, they say he's got to go.
Well, Tokyo
Go,
already
go,
went.
Godzilla. Ooh.
Oh, Tokyo.
Blue Oyster Cult
I was a
still
big
playing around.
BOC fan.
Kick-ass song. I don't care what anybody
They're
says.
still around.
Oh yeah.
You can still see them every few years on Long Island, and it's a pretty representative BOC.
Yeah, those like my first rock
Hey,
band crush.
6 in
was
the house.
Blue Oyster Cult.
6.
Hey, 6.
She wants us to start over.
Oh yeah, that's right. Cookie's in the second one too. I keep forgetting all the people that are in the second film. The second film actually has most of the original cast in it, minus Fay Ray and Bruce Cabot, basically.
Addition by subtraction, better acting.
Yeah, no loss.
Yeah, no, actually, like I said, story-wise, the second movie isn't bad. It's just it takes forever to get to the island, and then you actually meet the guy that sold Denham the map in the first place. And then you got that little side story with that daughter of that guy who has that shit circus thing going on, all that stuff. But Godzilla. I ain't a patch on his old man.
I would assume when we do that, we're going to do the 54 and not the 56 American version.
Please.
You can talk
Yeah.
about both.
Because it's a better
Yeah.
story. But the fact is, I also like the Raymond Burr version.
See, I grew up with the Raymond Burr version. That's the thing. So, like, I've only seen the Japanese version in the last decade a couple times compared to the Raymond Burr
Yeah,
version.
I
That's the
saw
version
it-
I grew up with. Yeah.
Like you, I didn't see the original Godzilla until the 2000s.
Same thing with 85. That's why I bought a bootleg of Godzilla 85 because that's the one that I grew up on as a kid. Was
Yeah, the one with
original
Raymond
one.
Burr in it.
Yeah, where they reinserted Raymond Burr into it. They changed the story quite a bit in Godzilla 85. In the first one, he's just kind of there. Like
He's a
same thing
reporter.
kind of with the second one, but they worked the story around him a little bit better in the second, 85 or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, the original one is just, he's literally just telling you what's happening. through the whole movie.
He's
He doesn't
doing the
really
whole-
do anything.
whole War of the Worlds reporter story is really what it is.
Kong.
Oh, Tim's in the house.
Hey, Tim.
You know what that means, right? But we don't have it here. So I owe you your video, Tim.
Yeah, what Six said, I expect to hear that stuff from Tim. I'm surprised Six can be a diva like that too.
Yeah, I get it. I get it, King.
That's what I said, King, but I enjoyed watching this one.
Well, this is the OG.
I think he's never seen the original Japanese version.
Well, all those technically predate kaiju. I mean, kaiju came along after the fact.
Yeah, they were retroactively added to the list.
Well, and that's
of
where
kaiju.
Kong is technically the first one anyway, but yeah. And Kong is still king in America. He still outgrosses Godzilla, at least for now.
And it was really neat when the studio allowed Japan to use Kong.
Well, and the funny thing is that's why he gets top billing in Godzilla versus Kong. Because they're like, he's much bigger than Godzilla, so we got to have his name first.
Yeah.
Lady V, welcome.
And it's a myth. I used to believe it for the longest time too, that there's a different cut for America than there's Japan. That's not true. It's all the same cut.
The only difference, I'm saying you're right. The only difference is that they have the growls at the end or whatever in the Japanese version.
Yeah, that's it.
But
they got
in the original script, here's the thing: there is a different ending. Godzilla actually got killed in the original script. King Kong actually was the victor. Yep. Because he died and then he was resurrected in Mothra versus Godzilla. That was the plan.
Last Word is a dinosaur film.
Yeah, those are not kaijus.
And the funniest thing is most people don't even think about it. The Godzilla that we root for isn't even the original Godzilla. It's his son or whatever.
Yeah. Or mate. We don't know.
Well, the first, that's true. In Godzilla raids, they're not 100% sure. You're right. It's just another one. That's all they know. Yeah.
But that's been altered with
depending on which timeline you go with. Yeah.
Well, because each era has its own timeline.
Yeah, and then in some ones they use the bones of the original Godzilla to build Mecha Godzilla, for instance, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Now here's animation, and then we cut to. That's the first scale.
They use more of the mechanical one in this one than they did in the 76.
That's right.
Absolutely.
It's true.
It's absolutely true. And I can't remember the guy's name, but the guy who did the sound effects did the actual for Kong.
I wish he had done it with all of his sounds and not used animal roars.
Well, what he did was he goes for the love grunts. He goes, I just took my voice going rumph, rumph, and I slowed it down and added a shit ton of bass and echo. He said to it. That's all he did. So it's just him going harumph.
By the way, somebody in the chat asked if Kong 76 was the only one to use man in a suit from Hollywood.
No.
Kong Lives used, I think, the same suit.
Well, not the same suit, but they had the Rick Baker's people. Like, actually, the suit. This is what's funny is they had less money for King Kong Lives, but the advancement in technology since 76 was so good that the suit for King Kong Lives actually has more articulation than the original one does.
Yeah,
and
you get one with boobs because
they were able to make two of them on top of it all. Yeah, for less. So that was even
the male and female
because you got the Lady Kong too and the Baby Kong.
Also, you have Cliff Clavin in that movie.
King Kong Lives is batshit crazy fun. And you
Yeah.
got
It's
Sarah Connor in
ridiculous.
it too.
It is. It's insane.
They literally give King Kong a fake heart in the beginning of the movie. That's how they bring him back to life. It picks up right where the 76 Kong leaves off.
Yep.
Now, I want to point out that
That's
Jeff
a Dino
Bridges'
De
character-
Laurentiis movie, to be clear. But yeah, sorry, go ahead, Gary.
No, I was just going
That's
to say,
Sadie.
one of the big jumps they did with that one is that he's a Greenpeace guy, Jeff Bridges' character.
Yeah.
Right.
And he's there as an anti-corporate, anti-industry guy.
Yep.
He says that, but I think he was smuggling weed.
Well, he actually, though, it's a little more complicated than that. See, and that's kind of what I like. Yeah, it's clearly about the weed, but I mean, no, what I like about the 76 version is it makes more sense as to why these guys are going out there, right? Like the whole idea is there could be oil there, right? So you got this company that's going out to seek it for oil. Jeff Bridges, yeah, he's a Greenpeace guy, but he's really actually there more for the pictures, right? Because he knows where they're going or has an idea of where they're going, and he knows that this is a big deal for him because his other background that they bring up in the movie is that he has a background in animals, all right? So that's why he knows what Kong's up to and stuff in New York, because he's like he's going to find the highest perch and he's going to go make a nest, and that's what he's going to do.
He just wanted to eat at windows on the world. That's all I think.
I think that 1976 King Kong is a prequel to The Big Lebowski.
Same character. That's what happened to him.
Exactly.
It's like the fucking government, man. They covered up the ape.
I love when Jim Cock talks about it. We go, when a monkey cry, when monkey die, everybody cry.
Yeah. When Jaws died,
It's a good
nobody
movie.
cried. But when the King Kong died, everybody cried.
When a monkey die, everybody cry. It's a good movie.
Oh yeah, this was Dino's big movie. He spent so much money. Oh my gosh. All that money mainly was for that stupid fucking full-size Kong that didn't work.
Carlo Rambaldi's giant ape did not work. It's worse than Bruce from Jaws.
Yes, it worked. It moved the eyes and the fingers.
Right about
Half
the time
that
of the
crap
movie.
didn't even work right, actually, dude. Like, because that was the things they had. The only shot it's in the movie, it's literally in 1.2 shots, but I mean, they're all filmed at the same time. It's just literally, they got the arms to go like this to drop the cage.
Yeah.
And that was it.
That was it.
And boy, they promoted that movie as like, they're going
Oh.
to have this giant Carlo Rambaldi ape doing
Yeah.
all the action scenes. I'm like, what? No way.
Yeah. No, it was Rick Baker in an outfit.
As a really little kid, I loved that movie though. I thought it was great. It had
Oh, I
everything you
love it.
wanted when you were a
Still
kid.
love it. It's
Well, as
my
Six is
favorite
saying
version.
here, that's the other thing that's awesome about Dino De Laurentiis is he loved to bilk as much money as he could out of the network. So he would always extend his movies into 2 nights. So that was the first time I remember
Yeah.
seeing it was when it was on television as a kid, and it was over 2 nights. So they had, the extended 3-hour version of the movie or whatever. So before Peter Jackson made it 3 hours long, Dino De Laurentiis did. But yeah,
If they had
Dino
left
was,
that cutscene in
old
when
school,
Odo
though.
gets to the Hollis,
He was
Sorry.
all about building the big sets. He would put money into it. And he was also a forward-thinking dude because he's the guy who came up with the idea of turning North Carolina into the new Hollywood. It flopped, but now you look today, I think it would succeed if they had done it today. Yeah, Kong was hugely hyped.
oh, I even have the original audio commercials for the movie when it came out that I play on Mead Radio. That's what they keep saying.
Okay.
It's
Did,
the movie you've been waiting for. It took years to make. All that stuff.
do any of you remember the toy playset that came with Kong and both towers from the Vortice?
No.
I don't remember it at all.
Yes. Oh yeah, I do.
But that is one of my favorite scenes when he jumps from one tower to the other. I like the way they shot that in the movie.
Which is a bigger distance. There was a bigger distance than you thought. because that's why it was a big deal when that guy tightrope between them.
Hmm.
Not for Kong, it ain't.
Well, I guess
That's what I love, though. At least they acknowledge that between the original film to now, like, yeah, the Empire State Building is no longer the biggest building in New York.
In fact, at the time, they physically altered the Empire State Building by putting an additional needle on top.
Yeah, they
so
put,
that it would
put
be
the radio
taller.
tower on top.
It's a dirigible mooring tower, and it's perfectly practical.
Well, they had the Chrysler Building as well, which I think was taller, isn't it?
No, the Chrysler Building is slightly smaller than the Empire
Is
State
it?
Building.
Okay.
It's just that it's somewhat older, and it's really.
Oh, is it? I thought it was
honest-
after. Okay, you're okay.
I think it might be a little older. Don't quote me
You're
on that
probably
one.
right.
I'm
I'm
not
pretty
a
sure
tour
it
guide on
is.
this one, but here's the thing. Look at some pictures on Google Images of what the Chrysler Building looks like on the outside, and it's absolutely beautiful with stainless steel gargoyles and chrome and all sorts of things like you
Yeah,
wouldn't
it's-
imagine. Whereas the Empire State Building, as impressive as the silhouette is, and as much as we all love it, they threw that thing up in 10 months. The Chrysler
Yeah.
Building is a work of love and beauty, and one of the most fantastic buildings you'll ever see in any city anywhere. And we're very proud of it. It's the one we look at.
It's a standing tribute to the Art Deco movement.
Absolutely. It's
Yeah.
very Erte reminiscent stuff. Gargoyles, beautiful things that look like they would be on a Rolls Royce. It's a beautiful
that-
building.
Well, isn't that part of the joke in the Godzilla 98 movie is that the army keeps blowing up the most expensive buildings in town? 'Cause they get the Chrysler Building, and don't they take out a big piece of the fucking tower and shit like that?
Whatever was left of the Empire State Building from Roland Emmerich's previous movie, Independence Day. He's been
I
pretty
just
rough
remember
on New
the
York.
Mayor Ebert bitching because he's like, they just took out the fucking Chrysler Building.
That was a great.
You guys are
Mayor
doing more
Ebert.
damage than that goddamn creature is.
Right.
That basically captured how it would go down here too.
That's
Probably.
another joke they would echo later in
No,
Team
That's the
America.
thing I will stick up for the Godzilla 98 film. Everybody's like, oh, it's such a horrible movie. It's like, are you serious? I'm like, that's exactly what would happen if our military tried to kill some big fucking monster. They'd do more goddamn damage than the damn monster would.
And it's also exactly how the mayor of New York would react. He'd have a meltdown and just keep screaming through the whole thing. Never calm down. They'd have to trank him.
It would be probably more accurate, to be honest.
Yeah, his accountant was right next to him, keeping track of the damage. He's like, "You can't keep doing this."
By the way, I do like what Slasher Fred said previously about Rick Baker, because one of the reasons he got the Kong gig was
Oh, yeah,
because of
Schlock.
his work on doing Schlock for Landis.
Well, and
'Cause
it's
he did
because
a
they
gorilla.
panicked. I think wasn't a lot of it because they knew they were going to do some suit work, but I think the other plan
They
originally was.
expected to do a lot less.
I was going
and-
to say I think the plan was to do the machine, and then I think they wanted to do stop motion otherwise, but they just didn't have the time because Dino wanted to have the goddamn movie out by Christmas '76. That was his big thing. I know.
Yeah, so the last
wasn't it? I don't. It might even
decision
be
was
supposed to be out
made.
by for summer, but yeah.
to bring in somebody who could perform this thing, and none other than bring in Rick Baker to do the makeup, but also he does the performance.
Well, I think
And
that
it
was
saved
just
the
out of
film.
necessity too, because I think he originally needed they needed somebody to stand in for the ape to do the makeup part. They didn't have anybody, so I think he just did his on his own cast that he had sitting in the shop.
Well, there was
No,
concern
I
over the
think is what it
size
was.
because the suit
Yeah.
was made for a specific size, his size.
Yeah, well, that's what I was saying. Is he just basically tailored it around himself because he had nobody else to.
Yeah.
So that when it came to actually performing it, he looked the best in the suit. Plus, they also said he had the piercing brown eyes. That was the other thing. I can't remember if it was the director or Dino who kept talking about that. Because remind me again who was directed the remake. It was Gleerman, right? What's his name? Gillerman or whatever. Trying to think of his first name. Or who am I thinking of?
Yeah, Gillerman, John Gillerman.
Yeah,
think
John
we
Gillerman. Thank you, Stephen.
I think we should go to our segment about Vindicator. Vindicator.
Oh, you got a segment?
Yeah, at the
Well-
top of the hour.
So here we go.
Meet the Seattle Vigilante. Like so many comic heroes, this warrior hides his identity. But his identity isn't the only secret he has to keep. After grievous wounds received during combat, Tier 1 operator John Russell begins to recover and comes to terms with his new reality of being an amputee. And as he learns how to use his new prosthetic limb, he finds himself caught up in the bureaucratic red tape that too many wounded veterans experience, the exhausting medboard process. Out of sheer frustration, John takes it out on the criminal scum of the city. But when reality kicks in, John realizes he started something that's having an impact on the greater world around him, and thus has to reevaluate his motives. And moreover, just how far is John willing to go to finish this war he's declared against the criminals in Seattle? And will he even survive? From the creator of IDW's award-winning graphic novel Code Word Geronimo comes a new story about a different kind of warrior, Vindicated Inc., the first of its kind disabled veteran action hero comic. The Vindicated Inc. graphic novel crowdfunding campaign on fundmycomic.com is provided in the description of this video. We hope you become a contributor. Please share this link. Thank you.
And I found, there you go. That's the toy you were talking about, Martin.
Yes, in fact, in the private chat, I put 2 links for a compilation of toys about that. One from Migo. One of the pages from Migo. Migo had a huge collection about Hong Kong.
I remember that poster. What it is he's crushing never came into play in the movie. I don't know what he's destroying.
Yeah. And are you talking about the 76 one?
Yeah, it's like he's crushing.
Where he's like way out of, where he's like extremely out of, what do you call it?
Proportion?
Proportion, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. He's like at least 6
I love that
larger.
freaking poster though. That is one of the most amazing posters ever. But yeah, it's like
you see the sculpture that was made of it? Here it is.
He pulled an Apollo mission out of the sky. Oh, that's what it is? All right. Acceptable. That's
one
great.
of the jets, yeah.
That's great. It's just, which one, Zach Wilson? Sorry. Das Wolfen gets it.
Yeah.
I like that in the Peter Jackson version, they left in the breaking the jaw and crushing the skull.
Yes.
Yes.
And moving the jaw.
Look how freaky he looks with those eyes.
You know what he's saying, right? He's saying, I like booty.
Where the white women at? That's what he's saying. No, we haven't even talked about there's like I think there's 3 different actual Kong models. Because they had to have 2 to just be able to work on normally. And then when he gets to New York, they upscaled him just a little bit. So I think it's 18-inch models, I think, for the first 2. And then I think they did a 22-inch model or 24-inch model for New York setting. But you'll notice throughout the film, his face keeps changing. And that's the famous faces that the two most prominent being the flatter face and the more longer face. And that's because Kong was a build-up process back then. They didn't think to use molds for the faces. So every time it's slightly different, but they had kind of like 2 more the 2 basic faces that show up most of the time. Because and not only that, I guess the reason the other one looks the way it does is the longer face was the first design, but I think it was Cooper didn't like it so much, and he told Willis to make it look more ape-like, so that's got the more smushier face or whatever. And you can kind of tell mainly because of the nose and the shape of the face, obviously, but it's a subtle thing. But yeah, it's just a thing that fans talk about. Which version is their more favorite of the 2? I'm in the long face camp. So yeah,
I like the long face too. I also want to point out that one of the biggest problems they had in this film that was hard for Ray Harryhausen later to figure out how to deal with is every single time they touch the ape to move him, it moved the fur. Yep. And it just, you can see it in the film. Like they're like, because this is the first time they've ever done anything like this.
Yes. Yeah. Because it's yak hair that they're using.
Yak hair.
And at first they were pissed about it, But then when one of the critics had written in one of their reviews that the effects are so amazing that you can even see the hair blowing on the,
right.
You're like, never mind, it's fine, it works.
It worked. Another problem they had, and you can see it in a couple of scenes, is the seam lines on his hands in the animated one. You can actually see the mold seams.
Well, yeah, or maybe they did use molds, I think, for the two, but they had two specific faces or whatever. But otherwise, the rest of the body was called a buildup process, where it literally was you had the armature, which was something they had to actually send out and have machine parts made for. And then what they take cotton, and they shape the muscles and the legs and all that kind of stuff out of the cotton, and it even had like a little bladder built in the chest,
so
that could fill up, so it could make it look like Kong was breathing.
Right, breathing.
And yeah, so like it was just this build-up process, and then they would tie that off, and then they would plaster that with like a rubber cement kind of stuff, and then they would actually put on the hair. And so like every time that they'd have to do that, because they'd have to do it every few days or every day or so. But there was other times where like the animators would get tired or drunk, and so they'd actually snap one of the fucking armatures and go, "Oh, it's broke. Well, we got to take the night off so they can fix it and send it back in." And they do that a lot. But what's funny was you were talking about like some of the sequels and stuff and reusing stuff before. For the longest time, they weren't sure where the original Kong went. Because as I said, there were 3 of them. And they thought they had known where one of them was. Because there's this one guy, I can't remember his name, Bob something, who was this huge collector of memorabilia, especially monster movie stuff. In fact, I think he was the guy who started the Famous Monsters magazine. He had one of them, and then there was another one floating around, but they thought it was a Mighty Joe Young armature, which it was. They didn't realize that Willis O'Brien used the same exact armature made for Kong in both Son of Kong and Mighty Joe Young. So the lost one was found because they did the paperwork and figured it out. So like they found all of them, I think, except for one, which would be, I think, the larger one. But they're not sure what that was reused later for. But yeah, back then, a lot of these would get destroyed and then reused as something else down the road. So that's why they don't exist anymore. But so like at least 2 of the armatures have been found. And the one is in that one guy's collection, and the other was bought by another famous person. I don't know if you guys can figure out who, but it's a pretty obvious answer. Who owns it?
I wanted to point out here, by the way, a lot of people thought this.
Nobody's going to guess.
Snake. I'm going to assume it was Forrest J. Ackerman.
No, it's Peter Jackson.
Yeah.
Oh,
Who owns
Jackson.
the other one? Yeah. Or Forrest Ackerman. That's who I'm thinking of. Who owns the other one? Yes, and Bob Burns I think has one too.
Bob
Burns is the guy who has ones. Yeah, who has one. But yeah. And how do I know all this shit? Because I read and I watch, and I'm a nerd. When it comes to King Kong, it's one of my passions.
I have to switch real quick because I got to play the video. I'm sorry, guys. This is for Tom.
Damn proud of it.
So that's a plesiosaur, not a snake. A lot of people thought this was a snake that was attacking him.
Kick his ass.
Absolutely a plesiosaur.
He was justified in his actions. That plesiosaur was cruising for a problem. I don't care if he's a vegetarian or not.
Plesiosaurs aren't vegetarians.
No, they are absolutely
justified.
And that thing did try to kill him. So,
by the way, I want to point out not only the beautiful matte work done in this, the transitions between Kong walking around dealing with the miniature animated people to transitioning to turning, and then suddenly the actor is there.
Yes,
I really was so happy with how they did that. It was very successful animation transitions. Oh, there's the infamous butt crack shot.
Backdoor Kong.
Backdoor King Kong.
Hey, Cappuccino's in the house.
Hey, Che's here, yeah. Oh man, this is so naughty what he does here. Tears at her clothing.
Yeah.
Like, How they got
And then
away
he's-
with this?
And then he
Well, they
smells his
figured
finger.
out later. This is one of the
Yes.
scenes that were deleted. Yeah. But of course, Dino De Laurentiis really had to amp it up.
I think the funniest one, even when I was 12 years old, him blow drying her hair, I'm like, oh my God, his breath would be so horrid.
It's like nanners.
Yeah.
But
Rotten
wasn't that the whole
manners.
thing? I never got to go to the Universal ride, but I've been told by people that if you got close to the Kong when he would roll or whatever, it smelled like bananas. They said.
Oh, really?
Oh,
Yeah.
so Kong's a
Nice touch.
sniffer.
It smells like bananas and ass.
No, supposedly that's what Kong's breath smelled like, was bananas at the Universal ride. I can't speak to it because I've never been to it.
What would Jessica Lange's breath?
Exactly radioactive.
Jessica Lange's cocaine and booze.
But I set you right up for that one. Yeah, I thought so too, right? Champagne and cocaine.
She was one of those fancy ladies. She liked her cocaine with champagne.
My head canon on how she got into that movie was that boat was blown up by people freebasing while she was out on the bow.
There you go.
Everything else was in praise. Like, it was a wild party. Everyone's having fun. But then they showed this dirty movie. And I didn't like it. I'm like, yeah, sure. And so, yeah, then the next thing I knew, there's this explosion. So I'm just thinking, like, Ricky Nelson.
And I got to point out, man, there's just so many attacks on Kong in this movie that it kind of felt like I think we like a bridge too far on a couple of the attacks, but they wanted to have that action in there.
That's why he's sympathetic ultimately in the end to the people who this movie was
Every
most
day's a
taken to
fight
heart
for
by.
life.
In my world, this was a movie for kids, and kids loved King Kong because he got beat up on so much and kept coming back.
This is a beautiful shot right here. Look at that.
Oh, Peter Jackson captured that scene beautifully.
Her face fit right inside Tom's perfectly there in that shot. It was unworldly.
Now, I'm going to point out
realize it was
that
a new
Mighty
movie.
Joe Young was the opportunity to make Kong look like an actual ape.
Well,
And-
Mighty Joe Young is a huge leap forward, even though considering it's a couple years ahead of it. I mean, if you watch that and compare, I mean, of course, Ray Harryhausen just shows you what kind of talent he has there, because
Yeah, it was 15 years later. when they
Willis
shot.
was good, but Ray knew how to do things much smoother. And I don't know if he just knew how to calculate stuff better, but he was always real good at figuring out moves. Because, you just listen to Ray Harryhausen talk in an interview, and he'll tell you, like, we had to invent a lot of this shit as we were going along because we didn't have books or other things to go by to tell us how to do these things. There wasn't schools you could go to learn this stuff. He goes, I learned this shit from Willis. Like, it's just like, he was just that much better than Willis, I'd say, at the end of the day. But, you get to that one compared to this one. And even, like I said, even the leap forward that Willis did with Son of Kong is kind of better than some of the effects in this one. This one's kind of janky compared to the latter ones, but yeah.
And again, the excuse is it was the first time they'd ever done this. And
Really,
so
it is. I mean, they were
it's
still
an experiment.
developing the technology, basically. Yeah. And I mean, you got some different, beyond the stop motion, they're using other techniques that were in their infancy at this time. Like they have a couple different versions of, optical effects, right? Like here we are with the door opening up. You can see Kong literally coming through the door, like it leaks through because of the type of special effect they were using. That
this was
effect,
the first matting process they'd ever
matting
done.
process.
Kind of like what we use as blue or green screen.
They had another version they used on this that was actually a bit better, in my opinion. That was basically what blue screen became or green screen became. But yeah, but this is a version of it where they literally had to run the film through the camera twice, basically. So if you didn't get it right the first time, you had to redo the whole thing.
Oh, Gorilla Grodd. Yeah. Okay. By the way, Robert Armstrong, who plays what's his name, Denham in this, also plays a very similar character in Mighty Joe Young. So he's the guy who got to work in 3 Giant Ape movies.
Yay! I guess.
And the reason, now, what I read when they said that they had censored this stuff out wasn't because of the violence of him stepping on people, but they felt it was racist. And I don't know if that's true. But that's
I don't know about that, because the
true.
reason behind it, from what I know, is the Hays Code came into effect. That's why. So they couldn't have a lot of this shit. Like, they were very, like...
Oh, coconuts on boobs. There you go. You know, you're watching a Hollywood movie when you see coconuts on boobs. Yep, chomping down on a guy.
Oh, one of those guys. He first bite him, then throw him, and then stomp on him.
And make sure
the guy was still alive.
Yeah, but the guy was too chewy, so it's his fault.
Yeah.
He kept the parts that had all the protein.
Yeah, it's too much sinuous material. He didn't like it.
It's like being picky with the chicken wings. He just only likes the drumstick.
There you go. Yeah, don't like the wing. I like the drumstick. There you go. Squishing the hell out of these guys. God.
I'm so happy they put that back in because when
Oh, Six is wearing coconuts.
Would be there.
Right.
I was really hoping they would be.
Six is wearing coconuts on her boobs today.
I hope it's working for her.
Well, if you're into that, Six, you go.
Oh, you're being called out, Six.
Picker didn't happen.
Yeah, I like I love the original film, Murders in the Rue Morgue, but my preferred version, oddly, is one with Val Kilmer, George C. Scott, and Joanna Welly. It was a made-for-TV movie version. It was very good.
I remember that one. It was good. George C. Scott was awesome.
It was very, very close to the original Edgar Allan Poe story. Yeah, that's right. Willis O'Brien Pat did this stuff. Yeah. Because nobody had done this before. And this one thing that Tom and I want to beat home is this movie was the first of its kind to do what it did.
So many.
Here's the lady complaining, like she thought she was going to watch one of the nature movies of the filmmaker. And it's like, oh, this is a live animal. I want my money back. It's not happy about that. Look at him just standing there like a freaking prop. Guy cannot act.
Oh my God, Reed.
So that's how, yeah, that's how they get their milk. You didn't know that? Godzilla would be the ninth wonder, yeah. Because Kong is the eighth. So
I thought it was Lizzo.
Lizzo.
You just get confused because they're of equal mass.
She is definitely the number one what the fuck. I also like how the reporters are made out to be shitheels in this movie.
In the movie?
Well, it kind of goes to remind you that reporters have never really been.
Yeah. Why do people think they're great people? They're not.
I mean, they used to be ran by Hearst, and then they were ran by basically, you know, other corporate puppets. It's like, yeah.
Yeah, I was when I showed the movie Tombstone to Anima, I pointed out that there were two local newspapers in Tombstone, and both of them were at odds with one another. But they covered those who were Democrats with one paper and those who were conservative Republican with the other paper. I said, so don't think that what you see today is new. It's been like that since the beginning of this country.
Which party owned the tombstone epitaph? That was the one that all the quotes were from in the book I read.
I do believe the epitaph is the conservative one that was on the side of Earps.
Makes sense.
Yeah, because there was a lot of people who were trying to argue that Earp was just trying to use this for some kind of political favor and all this other kind of crap. And it was motivated by business more than it was him actually acting under accordance of the law or anything like that. It's a big
because they
debate
own
that
part
still
of that
goes on to this day.
And
yeah,
they were pimps. They were pimps.
Well, and that's kind of portrayed in the film, right? Like, because like Kurt
that.
Russell's whole thing is like, we're not here to be lawmen, we're here to be businessmen, kind of thing.
Yeah, dealing card games and doing whatever else. Now that's New York Steel. You might notice, guys. Don't worry about anything. You'll be fine.
Yeah, New York Steel. We're safe.
No, and this one is nickel, chrome steel.
Chrome steel. That's a chromium steel. I'll tell you, Fay Wray was gorgeous. She just couldn't act.
I think she could act. I just think, like was said earlier, she just wasn't given much to work with.
And that's true. I should.
Because, like I said, if you see The Dangerous Game, which she was filming at the same time, she's actually kind of funny and pretty good in it. But yeah,
was that with Clark Gable? Who was in it with her?
No. That was almost the same cast, but it was shot at the same time at night, and the only difference is I think Shodzak was directing that one, remember right? And they were using both the same sets. That was the whole thing. Like, I think because there's a lot of jumbled things going into the history of this, and I think looking at it from the broad view now, what kind of happened was, I think RKO said something to Marion because Willis O'Brien was spending way too much on creation, and I think they asked Willis if there was any way he could maybe do a production or two out of amortizing what had been spent on creation already. And I think he said, yes, I think we can work 2 movies out of this deal. Because I think Dangerous Game was also another movie he had already had in mind, if I'm not mistaken. So I think that's what had happened at that time. But Willis O'Brien got his whole movie shut down in the process of, so it was kind of a shit move for him. But, that was just kind of like this thing that kind of went through his whole career. Is like he's got so many unrealized projects and things that never saw the light of day and got shit stolen from him, like Godzilla versus Kong and things like that. But yeah.
This is another one that was cut from the film that.
Yeah, this was cut too. Yep.
Chomping on the white man. I like those sound effects. This woman here.
This was also cut from the other version too. Yep, where he drops her.
That is horrifying what he does. He scoops her out of her.
Well, this is one of the first movies to be advertised as a horror film, because when Dracula and Frankenstein came out, those were like advertised as like
advertised as a romance. That's right.
Because they didn't have that yet. They didn't quite know what to call it yet.
In fact, Dracula was promoted as the strangest love story ever told.
Yep. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong, but I believe this is the first movie ever billed as a horror film, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, it is horrifying when he scoops her up. He's like, is it her? No, it's not her. And he just drops her like 8 stories. It's like, my God.
Pretty disinterested, yeah.
This one.
Yeah, this one right here.
And in 76, you have a similar scene, but it's with a woman that he grabs from the subway. He looks at her, but in the 76 version, he throws her in frustration.
Yeah, he really gives her a good throw. Yeah.
6 says she's pretty sure she's fine.
Yeah.
She'll be fine. She's a strong woman.
A few scrapes and bumps. And now here we have probably one of the more copied scenes from the movie, of course.
I wonder what Ahsoka would do to Kong.
How do you mean copied? You mean, how do you mean, Tom?
Tom?
Sorry, what was the question?
What do you mean copied?
Well, like this has been copied and mimicked and
it
parodied
mimicked and other stuff. Gotcha.
I mean, shit, it's been used probably more commercials than anything. And then just this whole concept of the Kong,
looking through the window, giant hand comes.
It's been reused in so many different things and satirized or whatever you want to call it.
Tom's dead, Six says. Because you didn't respond. Cabot's best acting was when he exited that room.
I like how the giant hands comes in through the window, and instead of running out of the room, he just decides that he's going to whack him with a chair.
Yeah,
so
that's exactly what I said, Martin.
So this is setting up where he's going to leap from building to building, but that doesn't happen in this version, obviously.
And I think it's because they probably couldn't figure out how to do it, or it cost too much.
It was the costing too much part. That was what I was saying. Is like in more recent years in my research that I've found is that I've really questioned whether or not the spider pit sequence was ever filmed, because that shot right there that I was just talking about sets it up for here, and it never happened. See, he goes back down to the ground, because this would have been, I think this was a sequence that was before this initially in the script. And then because from here, he jumps from building to building to building to the Empire State Building. And that was supposed to set up that big sequence.
Which is what they do. And by the way, if you watch Peter Jackson's version, he has the leaping from building to building in it.
Well, and the studio was telling them guys, like, yeah, you guys have spent way too much money already. You're not going to have the money to finish all these things. So cut a few sequences. So in the original shooting script, there's like 3 or 4 sequences that are X'd out. One of them is the leaping, and some of the other ones we talked about. And the spider sequence was another one, in another big fight with Kong and some other creature that was cut out.
Does he have a moment to himself?
I think the Stegosaurus that was killed, that was it. Sorry, what was that?
Does he get a moment to himself in Central Park like they do in the Peter Jackson movie? Because if he added anything to the movie, I really do like that part where he discovers ice.
No, I think that's purely Peter Jackson, actually.
It's a beautiful moment in the movie, in his movie.
By the way, going back to something I forgot to mention earlier, this film has some of the best early use of rear screen projection.
Yes.
Like Stegosaurus scene when they start walking.
Yes.
And they're actually on a treadmill, and the camera's doing the movement on the miniature. The speed's not perfect, but I still liked it. I'm like, what a huge thing that had never been done before. Never been done before.
And I believe that's the other sequence that got edited. Is I believe Kong was supposed to fight that Stegosaurus before they killed it. So
I love this miniature because this is the smallest Kong, as I recall.
And I think this is the marionette Kong, if I remember.
Was it marionette?
Too, right?
I just knew it was.
I think this is the only time it's not stop motion. It's actually marionette. Yeah, and it's that same one that they drop. Yeah, that they drop down the building when it dies. When he dies, is the same one, I believe. Yeah.
That is such a nice.
And you know what? I will point out again too. In this scene in the newer film, far more emotional. That it even got.
Oh yeah.
Anima got very emotional watching that scene. And I do like that in the newer film, he knocked the mini tower off the top of it to stand up there.
I think he also gets one more plane in the new one.
He destroys 2 planes. That was an addition. He grabbed it, jumped up, grabbed it, threw it into the other plane.
And it was kind of creepy, they kind of went without music and you heard the planes kind of deconstructing as they fell. It was cool.
Well, you know who's flying the planes, right?
Who? Peter Jackson?
Well, in the remake, yeah. But in the original one, it's Marion C. Cooper and Ernest B. Schoedsack, and I believe Willis O'Brien.
Oh, really?
Yep.
They were pilots?
Yep, and that's where Peter Jackson and those guys got the idea from, because that's what they said. Well, we built this son of a bitch. We should get to kill him.
Yeah. That's great.
That's the Marion C. Cooper quote or whatever. Yeah.
And they named the airfield that Lindbergh takes off from is where they scramble him from, which is now the biggest mall on Long Island. I think they named Roosevelt Field in there.
Wasn't Jennifer Lawrence flying the plane?
Oh yes,
Yeah,
she's
Jennifer
one of the
Lawrence
planes,
was
yes.
the first pilot ever.
She's in the
Nobody
lead
even knew what a
plane.
plane
Oh,
was.
I
when she
love
flew.
this bit. This is some of the best shit here with Kong. Like, just love these wide shots of him going after the planes and shit.
I also like that miniature of the Empire building. That shot there, the plane crashing. That was great.
And here's the fat-faced Kong.
But he really looks more like a gorilla there.
Yeah, well, that's what Cooper wanted, or whatever it was, or vice versa. I can't remember which it was, but whoever wanted it, but was the head of the studio or something like that. But yeah,
You're going out in New York. You want to look your best, you know?
because Kong was not
That's-
actually meant to be a full-on gorilla. He was meant to be like a hybrid human gorilla looking thing. So like what he looks like in Kong Skull Island is kind of closer, even more so than what we got here of what he was supposed to originally be. Sorry,
And by the way, they don't call it Skull Island in this. Skull Mountain is what's
Skull
referred
Mountain.
to, but it's a different island. And I don't know when they eventually called it Skull Island. That's
I believe it was called that in the book. See, here's the funny thing was, and this is why there's a copyright dispute to this day over this film and the story. They made the movie, and as they were making the movie, they wrote a book based on the movie. And it came out, I mean, I think the book came out just before the movie came out. So Universal owns the rights to that book, but Warner owns the rights to the movie because they bought RKO through Turner thing, right? So both companies still claim they own the rights to the story when it's true on both ends. One owns the book rights and the other one owns the movie rights. It's kind of weird. But there was a book written at that time, and that book filled out a few things, and I believe that's the first place Skull Island is mentioned as well. And I believe that book also has a couple of the deleted sequences that didn't wind up in the movie, if I'm not mistaken, as well.
And of course, this is a great shot of the
planes didn't get him. 'Twas beauty that killed the beast.
Now,
Oh, he's
this
like
is the
you.
one line in the film that I felt he delivered well that Jack Black did not deliver as well.
There's only, Jack Black didn't deliver it in the remake. It was Fay Wray that delivered it in the remake.
No. In the remake, Peter Jackson did. Jack Black says that line. As he's
No, I thought it was
walking
Fay
away.
Wray.
No, he says it.
No.
You mean?
Or
Yeah,
maybe
no,
she-
I think Jack Black says it. They
You're
made
I just
both.
showed the
Yeah,
ending.
yeah,
I just
she did
showed the ending to Anima, so
You're
she
right.
could see the difference.
You're right,
It's
because
Jack
he had
Black.
wanted to have Fay Wray do it, but she couldn't. Yeah, that was. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
He was. I mean, he tried. I don't think it was a bad attempt.
You're
It's
right.
just
You're right.
Not the most skilled actor yet.
Jack Black
In that field.
is okay in some things. I'm a big.
He
Jack
was
Black fan,
kind
by
of
the way.
miscast as Dead.
He was. He was
I
the worst
agree.
casting choice in that film.
Okay. Do you want
Almost
to
anyone
show
else would have
creation?
done a better job.
Oh yeah, let's get to the short films. By the way, I want to read what Lady V Element said. She says he likes wide shots,
I do.
much like Gary.
That's right.
Laughy face, and then she says, "LOL, just kidding, Gary. Don't hate me." And I don't.
So this
That
is from
is
This
Creation.
is from Creation. This was the test footage.
Yeah. So
And
this
here we
is,
see rear screen projection.
It's gonna kill
It's
a
moving,
baby.
so you got to
Yeah.
shoot it. Shoot it. It's moving.
this is the closest thing to an antagonist that was in Creation. He was a rich boy who was supposed to marry the female lead, but she starts falling for somebody else, so he gets all jealous and goes out and shoots a dinosaur. Like I said, if you get the Blu-ray or the 2-disc DVD of Kong,
Wow,
They-
look at that.
they put together a whole like reel of what the story would have been.
God,
Hope she got you, motherfucker.
Oh yeah, he does. He gorges him.
So
It's like
there's that
Delicate
film.
Sound.
Now let's watch the other one that shows the internal
yes.
skeleton.
No, this is not a documentary. It's a short film. Very
With an
romantic,
introduction.
very beautiful. Yeah. It's done by StudioADI.
Hi,
I will
I'm Tom
put the
Woodruff Jr.
information.
Thanks for
Hopefully
coming to
we
Studio
won't get
ADI here
ganked
on
on this.
YouTube, and thanks for subscribing. For this segment, I wanted to do something a little bit different. I want to look at one of my passions that I've had since I was a kid, and that's for stop motion animation. And Alec has shared the same background. When he was a kid, we would watch these movies on TV. The animation of Ray Harryhausen, and Willis O'Brien. This was long before I knew who these guys were and how this thing worked. But I did learn over the years, and that sort of actually made my interest grow even more because it's something that I could do on my own. So many years ago, I met Bob Burns, who was himself a special effects guy back in the 60s and the 70s and wore gorilla suits into the 80s and 90s. And he was.
And that's really what we best know Bob Burns for, is being in the gorilla suit. In fact, if you
that's
know
what I was
the
talking
original
about earlier, who
Ghostbusters-
had the other Kong. Yeah,
exactly. Bob Burns is best known to most nerds as was it Spencer or was it Tracy? Tracy was the ape.
Oh yeah,
and
from
Spencer Tracy and Kong from the original Ghostbusters.
Sort of like a kindred spirit, but he had among his amazing collection of memorabilia the original stop-motion skeletons of Mighty Joe Young and King Kong. And for those of you who aren't into the whole history of stop-motion, the armature is the piece of metal that's used to hold the body in position from frame to frame to allow you to animate. And these are probably two of the most famous animation models in all the world. They're certainly some of the oldest that still exist. So I asked Bob one day if I could bring my camera over to his place and just shoot a couple of shots of Mighty Joe Young and animate him and bring him to life again. And he actually did me one better. He allowed me to bring the Mighty Joe Young armature here to ADI, and I actually spent the weekend of my 50th birthday with Mighty Joe Young here in the conference room, animating a short feature, a short project of
so when was this
bringing
made?
him back to life. And it was such a rewarding
Martin?
Let me see.
experience, and I shared the results with Bob.
2017.
Okay, so this might have been before they even realized that this is the same armature from Kong, if I'm not mistaken.
Bob, and then he threw down the gauntlet and said, "You should do the same thing with King Kong."
So I think it wasn't until
King
it went
Kong,
to auction.
because it's a much older armature and much earlier in the early days of stop motion, is not as well engineered or as well.
Well, most people don't know that this guy right now is being animated. That's not a real person.
Machined and crafted as the Mighty Joe Young armature. So what that means to the animator is that it's a much more difficult armature to bend into all the positions that you really want, and to have it hold those positions that you need in between shots. So it was a lot more of a struggle to get smooth animation out of it. And the thing I really wanted to do was stick to the original techniques, even though I have a great program for digital animation. I didn't want to rely on the features that they didn't have back in the 30s and 40s, things like onion skinning, where you can see earlier stages of animation, or flipping back and forth from one shot to another, from one frame to another.
What does he mean by onion skinning? I don't know that one. Do you know what he's talking about, Tom? Anybody?
Not too familiar with that one.
Yeah, I've never heard that before.
So I did it much the same way it was done back then. And I made
Unless he
a little
means the
story
build-up
out of it. I
process.
wanted to tell this.
I don't know, because onion skinning is like layers, and so
Yeah.
I'm wondering if there's like a purpose behind it. I'm gonna have to look it up. I'll find out.
The sweet story of the Kong armature still alive that comes out of hiding at night, and he finds pictures of Fay Wray, the actress from King Kong, and he's still in love with this actress. And it's a very short story. It's sort of a very open ending, but it gave me an opportunity to really see how much character I could get out of just this piece of metal. So anyway, I'm going to run it now. I hope you enjoy it. And again, I want to thank you for always coming back here to Studio ADI. We enjoy bringing you clips like this of our work and all of the
I found a definition here over on Stop Motion Studios iOS. To help position an object in your scene, you can use a technique called onion skin or ghosting to see the current frame. Oh, okay. You can look at the current frame as well as the previous frames before the frame you're about to shoot.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
So you run two films
It's a
together?
onion skinning. That makes, now I understand it's from animation, hand-drawn animation, because you would draw on onion skin and you were able to flip and animate that way. Okay, now I get it. Because I know what onion skinning means in hand-drawn animation, but I couldn't figure out what they meant here. That's interesting.
It doesn't mean running 3 strips of film at the same time to make one master of the effect by putting 3 different things in?
No, it's a means for them to be able to look at the previous shot.
I think it's something they could do digitally now that they couldn't do back then, is what he's saying.
Yes, digitally is going to be even the better way of doing animation. Once they figured out how to do frame by frame with digital, the point of film loses its argument.
Unless it was something they could figure out to do with a monitor back in the day, that's possible.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you, guys.
Things that have brought us to where we are.
Well, it's funny because I knew what onion skinning was in hand-drawn animation. I'd never heard it used with this, and that's interesting.
Well, maybe they knew then it was still the same puppet then. Okay.
Yeah, because you just said it.
Yep. I knew they figured that out later on. Yeah.
Steel in Love. Chromium or New York Steel, I wonder.
Why not both, right?
Actually, I think they were machined out of Pittsburgh, if I'm not mistaken.
Pittsburgh Steel, real steel.
I'm not kidding. I'm serious.
I wouldn't be surprised, man.
I think that's where they had to send off the plans to get it done.
Oh, here we go. Look at this.
Well, that's really smooth, actually.
Look at that.
Oh my God.
It sounds like the MGM roar. I'm going to turn it down because of the music. It looks like he's got a screw loose.
Don't we all?
Hey, you might need that later.
This is a Tool video.
Good old Ray Harryhausen. Would you say that Fay Wray was the first Scream Queen?
I guess so.
I think she was, technically, because they used her scream for years.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's probably the best acting that Cabot does in the whole movie is when he goes, what does he think she'll really see?
That was good.
That was interesting. I like that. I never saw that.
$2016. That was really good. Thanks for bringing that onto the show, Martin.
Yeah, curiously, I was when we were before in the backstage, and you got up. I was thinking and proposing you this, and then Chris sent me a message saying, "Oh, I cannot be on the show, but you should show this." Oh, look at that! We're on the same wavelength.
Great minds think alike, Martin.
This is doing stop motion animation and applying an object sounds like the absolute worst. Cannot be easy.
I'm actually looking up that one story, Origin of the Kong, Unbelievable True Backstory to Hollywood's Favorite Giant Ape, because I recall hearing about that a gorilla kidnapping a woman story that you brought up.
Was it Jennifer Lawrence?
Oh my God. Enough.
Well, you know it had to be Jennifer Lawrence. Like, she's the first woman ever kidnapped by a gorilla.
Jennifer Lawrence is the one who stopped it, Gary. She stepped in there and put an end to that gorilla.
The thing that's interesting about, you know, with so many celebrity dates and boyfriend, girlfriend and things, they make up nicknames for the two of them, mixing their names. Lawrence is the only one who has one just for herself, J-Lo. She doesn't need a boyfriend because she's the ultimate female.
It's a law as well, so
it's a law. Yeah,
it's J-Law.
She has enough ego.
I called Judd Law J-Law. Or Jude Law, whatever his name may be. I'm sorry. It's not that guy didn't impress me. I'm sorry.
What was Anima saying?
I said she has enough ego for two.
Yeah, to say the least.
That's what she doesn't
One of
do.
the inspirations, by the way, this is interesting, was Cooper always wanted to film a gorilla fight a Komodo dragon.
Yeah.
He thought that would be something amazing to catch on film. And that was one of the inspirations. But I'm looking it up here, and I'm not seeing anything yet, but I could swear there was a story. Yeah, he also wanted to have the gorilla at some point kidnap a woman from an expedition. That was kind of a myth of gorillas back in the day that they had all talked about, gorillas taking women. So I guess the inspiration was that folklore of gorillas taking women.
Well, they could have done like RKO Pictures and actually shoot that. Ingagi, it's a movie where it has gorillas taking women from the village and boinking them.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, I saw that the Irish kaiju film Gorgo has a new 13-inch tall action figure being released this year.
Oh, can you show?
No, I just saw it earlier. I brought it up at the beginning of the show, and I don't think maybe you didn't hear me. I was telling Anima about it.
Oh, can I show a web page?
What web page? Oh, for the Kong? Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. These are toys based on the 76. Look at that. Oh, man, I remember this one.
It's so funny. I've never seen that.
Yeah, they had a few of them. One in the King Kong cartoon was brought up earlier in the chat.
Yeah, I watched that as a kid.
That was the first animated show for Saturday mornings based on a movie.
Yep. In the original animated series, didn't Mark Hamill do a voice on that?
I'm not sure. Maybe.
I know that in an interview with him years ago, he talked about that movie, and I can't remember if it was because it was something that inspired him or the animated, or that he had worked on it.
Well, What year is it from? There's a Godzilla movie from right around the time of a Godzilla cartoon from Saturday mornings from right around the time of Star
That was
Wars.
not sure. Yeah, that one came out. I say that one was 70s.
78.
Yeah, right around the time of Star Wars. So Mark Hamill was on the spot that fast. Way to go, Mark.
Here we go. It's Titanic Creations. It's $174. It's 30 centimeters or 13 inches. Gorgo.
Bring it up.
Well, I'm trying to. It's a foreign website, so it's taking forever to load. All right, share screen. Sorry, present screen, share screen. There we go. There it is.
Nice.
It's very detailed. Oh my God.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
$174.
75.
That movie just came out on 4K. I got it.
Gorgo?
Yeah.
I like the film. It's one of the few films that's got the actor from 2001: A Space Odyssey that played Dr. My God, I just forgot his name. Roy Scheider
Dr.
played
Floyd.
him. Yeah, Dr. Haywood Floyd. And he was in this movie, Gorgo. I like the film. I really did enjoy the film. I felt like it got a bad rep because it was Irish. Made in wee Ireland.
I think
Wouldn't
Gorgo looks
Congo-
like a T-Rex had a love child with a crocodile. That thing looks weird.
What is it with you and love child?
What?
Everything's about love children.
Shut up.
What?
Fuck you, Gerry.
Yeah. If I'm going to spend money on a toy, I'm spending it on this one.
Oh, let's see. What is it?
Is there a Gorgo flask that could be like with liquor inside? But how'd the marketing for that movie go?
Holy cannoli.
Ooh, look at that. Do we have any other angles? And they really light up or what?
Yeah,
Oh, the atomic bread. Look at its mouth.
Yeah, click on some of those photos, man. Let's look at this.
"18 inches."
Now, many don't probably believe or remember this, but back around 2000, 2001, Universal put out a really good Kong figure from 1933. Does anybody remember that at all?
No.
Here, I'm going to pull up some photos of this thing.
Yeah, but
It
look at the
was-
detail on that.
That's really good, and that looks like a classic suit Godzilla too. which I
Yeah,
like.
it's the original 1954 Godzilla.
Well, that's
can
not
tell-
54. That is not 1954.
No, with that face, no.
No, that's more Showa era.
Yeah, you're right because it's got the turtle. No, it's got the turtle or the
And the cat
alligator head.
and the cat muffin.
Yeah, you're right. It is Showa. Probably. Let me see if I can get a better look at the bottom.
That's right. Gary knows his shit sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes.
Sometimes.
I would say late Showa because look at his chest is puffed out a bit, which is indicative
More
of
towards late 70s, early 80s.
late 70s. Yeah, I was thinking late 60s, early 70s.
Okay.
That almost looks like Godzilla 85.
Not
Well,
quite.
according to RJ Godzilla 81, it's Godzilla from 92.
Here is the figure that came out in around 2000.
That's the NECA one, yeah.
And it was so beautiful. It came with the
I got that one.
the metal stand that he was on with the cage chains. This is what it looked like. I saw it in the store, and I was either going to get that or the John Carpenter The Thing action figure and Frankenstein figure. So I bought those instead of King Kong, but I really came close to buying this thing. Look at that. It's just gorgeous figure.
Yeah, it is.
My God. A lot of work went into this. And you can get the different face on him, roaring or
the biplane.
But when you look at the Kong face, it really looks like the animated figure.
That's not the same one that we were just looking at. That's
no, it's
the
not.
one
What is that? That wasn't right.
Yeah.
It's not Jackson's Kong.
No, this is the one.
This is different. This one's
Yeah,
different.
this is
It's
the
still-
more newer one that you can still get at like Walmart and stuff. Yeah, and Target.
Yeah, I've seen it at Walmart, and I don't want it. I would
have
love to
it.
get.
It's pretty good.
It's about
heavy.
what, $35? Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah. This was the one that I wanted really badly.
I'm not sure if I've seen that one before.
Just the detail in that face and how much it looked like the actual figure from the film. This one's $95, man. Through eBay or Poshmark. It's beautiful stuff, man. Yeah, I actually did my first stop motion animation when I was 10 years old. We were in elementary school, and they created the what do they call that in school? I forgot, because the AV Club, and they showed us how you can take video and do stop motion animation with it. Do click, 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 do it like that, and we did. We went and made our own monster movie. I wish we still had a copy. It was a whole group of us: Bennett Sumner, Mike Vita. I don't think Craig Edwards is there. My buddy Craig. Craig was 2 classes behind me. And I didn't become friends until high school. What?
How much time did it take you?
It took us a week to shoot about a minute.
Oh,
we spent a whole week during class to get almost a minute of animation, and it was not very good. I'm not going to say it was good at all. It looked like something 10-year-olds would have made. But we understood. We grasped how to do it. And you could see the foundation was there. And that's the direction that Craig and I both wanted to go after high school. He did it, though. He went on, because we would do special effects makeup together and stuff like that. But he went on to work in film and TV doing that. I couldn't do it. I was chicken, scared to do it. I wanted to, I had a kid, so I wanted to make sure I could bring money home. But it's better than anything. But I did take my skills, Tom. My very first real job was working as a mold technician, making molds and pouring wax replicas out of those molds for the lost wax process for bronze statues. I got paid really well for that job. I was like 17 years old. Making molds to, I didn't make the mold for, I poured the wax, but not the mold for the upper left thigh of one of the Vietnam Memorial veterans, the soldier. We poured it and ejected the bronze into it. I just poured the wax on that. One of the proudest things I ever got to work on. I didn't get to work in film till later.
Tim, that's a very low bar.
I make vinyl fencing using machine molds. That I'm assuming you use with vinyl, you're using the injection process. So you got the gating process. But it's better than anything Disney puts up today, Gary. Yeah. Like she said, low bar.
Low bar, yeah.
It's low bar. Well, before we end the show, any last thoughts, Tom? And what do you think we should do next on the next episode of Tom and Gary?
Well, this is just one of those seminal films in history of film. Final thoughts on it. Gosh, I could. Yeah, I did. I could go on for hours about, but no, I think we should either do like the 76 or maybe the Jackson one next. Who knows? Up to you guys.
That one or even Son of Kong, maybe?
Maybe, sure. That's kind of a quickie.
It's a quickie.
It is so short and not much happened. Like I literally just explained to you the whole.
Yeah, it's not until the third act.
Like nothing really happens for the longest time in the movie outside of ancillary bullshit. And then, like I said, the scenes with Son of Kong are cool, but then, he kind of gets shafted at the end of the film. It's like he saves Denim, and it's like, dude, like what the hell? Like, yeah. Anyway, but
it is a movie that they had no budget. They had to work with what they had.
No, it was quickly rushed into production. Yeah.
Nobody likes quickies except for guys. Guys like quickies.
Unless you want to do Mighty Joe Young and that, I don't know.
Oh my God. Is there a 3-hour cut of Kong that we can get a hold of?
It's on the Shout Factory release.
Is it? Oh, dude. We got to make a slideshow of that one.
Which one?
The 3-hour
cut of Kong.
The Peter Jackson
or Peter Jackson?
It's on
76.
the Shout 76 version. It's on the Shout Factory.
And it's also going to be on the upcoming 4K release from Paramount too. Yeah.
Really?
Oh, Martin sounds excited.
Have to get that a look.
What was the length when they released it?
About 12 inches.
No, obviously. How long was the movie?
I told you a black buddy in the army walked up to me. He says, "Hey, Gary, what's 12 inches in white?" I said, "I don't know what." He goes, "Nothing." It was mean. Nothing. So Kong was 13 inches.
Not doing very well for a monkey.
Godzilla was 18.
So there you go.
He shoots fire.
So we will do. I think the 3-hour Kong version sounds like something fun to do.
Yeah, I don't have it. I have the standard.
I can see if I can hook you up.
Was there an
Thank
intermission?
you.
Martin creates the slideshow. So yeah, if you could hook him up with that, that'd be great.
If not, over where you're at, Studio Canal might have released the 4K already, which has the extended cut on the Blu-ray with it, which will be basically what Paramount releases.
So yeah, we'll do that, man. That was a fun show today, guys.
That's a fun movie.
Oh, it's a classic,
good
dude.
job.
This is a great film. I do want to thank some of the people who have dropped some gifts there. We have Darius Munchausen with a $1.49 super sticker. Suzanne Exton, who gifted 5 Admiralty memberships, and she dropped him a Canadian $10. Anything
so
for a
much.
friend, no problem. Radioactive dropped $5. I don't know if that was to us or to you. Do you know?
Radioactive did for me. I believe.
Okay, it's for
Thank
you. It's
Thank
not
you
really
very much,
saying.
Radioactive.
Why is it not saying?
It's showing up on my StreamYard, so it has to be.
Okay.
The way I'm seeing it looks like it's for me. I'm sorry, on my YouTube, so I believe it's for me. I thank you very much,
Yeah.
Radioactive.
It was for
Very
you.
generous. Yes.
And but anyway, we are done for the day. I want to say bye to everybody who joined us today in the live chat. Shirt Punch, Penny, of course. It's always wonderful to see Penny. Radioactive, Deleted Scenes, our buddy Stephen, Suzanne Eckstein, Andy Morrow, John Chipola, Jeff Wyatt, RJ Godzilla 81, Slasher Fred, E. Clay Thomason, Quantum Cat 76, Real Wade Nation Gaming, Tim's Talk, Soul Assassin, Mikey Sue's 4, James Caserta, You Can't Fool Pops, Read by Nature, The Tetrarch of Apathy, Jesse Gallardo. Is that how it said, Martin?
Guajardo.
Okay, Guardo.
No, Guajardo.
Guajardo. All
Yes.
right. I'll take your word for that. You're not fucking with me. The Memes of Destruction, Darius Munchausen, Kingsport Cal, the Peter Vinkman fan site, a.k.a. Vinkman's Girl, DJ Ronnie G, Ray Lucard, Larry, Hell in Place, Jonathan Hancock, 6, Sagacious 6, Jedi 6. It's always 6. Lady V Elements, who I'm not mad at. Don't you worry. I enjoy your jokes. Rod Thunderheart, always good to see Rod. UK Danger Man Repairs, and Gavin Blackburn, and then, of course, our dear friend Cavatino Calverman Che. Thanks for being here, guys. It was always fun to do these Saturdays with Tom. And with that, I guess we can get the hell out of here. Or as, our good friend would say,
Ma, I'm doing a show.